Should have been called Wrath of the Sad Olympians, as I'm pretty sure we only see one Titan in this film, and the villains or antagonists are Ares and Hades, who are Olympians, and they are working with Kronos, a Titan to be fair, but just one Titan. Could you beat the villain? The main conflict in the film for Perseus is with his half-brother Ares. But most of the fisticuffs is with Ares, so could I beat him? He's the god of war, and yes, I can beat him with peace. We just ask everyone on Earth to stop fighting or rob him of his power. Or just point out his very obvious daddy issues, and I'm sure he'd cry and be very distracted. And how would you improve this film? Why do you need a recap of the 2010 Clash of the Titans? Why are you watching this if you haven't seen the one before it? Also, it's weird that they had a recap of the last film, but then just kind of changed stuff from the last film as well. So the gods in this, they're not wearing their shiny lens flare armour, that I didn't like, but you know, whatever. And maybe that's because their powers are ebbing. Fine, okay. Or they're not on Olympus or whatever. And then you can explain that, but then Perseus, his attitude has changed towards the gods in the time between the two films. He was really pro-human in the last film, and now he's all best friends with Zeus. Well, not best friends, but he's got a much better relationship with Zeus. And also he seems to have done his homework, so he knows all about who the gods are, what their deal is, and he can even identify Poseidon just by looking at a sad, dusty old man. Perseus is wearing workman's boots, not sandals, at the beginning at least. And Zeus says to Poseidon, "It's been so long, brother," probably brother. Has it though? Because it seems like about 10 years based on the age of Perseus' son in this, and that doesn't seem like very long for a god, but there you go. There is some wonky CGI in the film. It would be reasonable to believe that a creature that breathes fire is fireproof, in my opinion, so Perseus takes a very risky gamble, and it pays off. And when this fire-breathing monster, whatever it was, attacks Perseus' little fishing village, Perseus puts on some armour, he has a bit of a scrap, and then the armour is intact at the end of the fight, but all of Perseus' wounds, he's got like dramatic cuts and stuff, they are in areas that were covered by his armour that was not cut. Trident, Bident, and Spear of Zeus, they're not mentioned at all in the last film, and then in this one they are pointed out in statues and blah 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 so heavily before they are mentioned. Oh, these are a cool super weapon, by the way. And the name of that cool super weapon, it was said about 50 times, but I cannot remember what it was because it was just boring. The gods in this, they all seem to identify each other by their relationship. So if they were actually brothers, you wouldn't think that they would need to mention that. So the best example that I can think of for this is Great Cronus, Father, we have delivered Zeus, your son. Hades, why did you need to say what all these people, why are you doing that? Because if you know the people involved and he knows you, Hades says to Zeus, his brother, "You're sweating like a human, brother." The funny thing about that scene is Hades is also sweating and Ares is sweating as well. So it's not just Zeus. Maybe it was a hot set, I don't know. Rosamund Pike replaces whoever it was that played Andromeda in the last film. Make the silent pieces sing now. Stop the war. Now. Everybody. And they could have at least mentioned that, oh, you've changed your hair or something, to, you know, do a knowing little nod that the actress has completely changed and they look completely different. Perseus says to Andromeda, "You can't leave Greece without a queen," because he's Australian or South African or whatever he is. Greece didn't have one queen back in the olden days. They were many, many kingdoms. So do your research, whoever wrote this film. Besides the comic relief son of Poseidon, whose name was like Agenor or the Navigator or something like that, I didn't bother to learn it. They don't introduce the kind of psychic soldiers at all in this film, not even Lily James, who would later become famous. So I guess that is actually something that Clash of the Titans 2010 did better than this one, because I felt they introduced the side characters too much, only for them to disappear. This one, they didn't introduce them at all, and they disappeared anyway, so you know. Kubo the Mechanical Owl. How is he in Clash of the Titans 2010 in Argos, in like the armory, just as a piece of junk? And how is he also here with Hephaestus, the fallen god? What's going on? Why are there two owls? Also in the film, they don't mention that Hephaestus is also the son of Zeus, so he'd be like Perseus' half brother, just like Ares is. Zeus also refers to Ares as a bastard in this film, which is kind of funny because I think he's one of like the few children that Zeus had that was not like out of wedlock, so that's fun. Anyway, we've no idea how strong Perseus is compared to Ares. Perseus is supposed, well, he's clearly more durable than like you would expect a normal person to be, but I've no idea if he's stronger than Ares or weaker than Ares or the same strength of Ares, so I'm not really I don't know how concerned I should be when they're having fisticuffs. Having seen Rosamund Pike in the film, I googled when earrings were invented, because I was like, I don't think those earrings are very, era appropriate for this ancient Greece. And I'm going to let it slide, because earrings were invented, but probably not the style that she was wearing them. I had no idea what was going on in the labyrinth scene, so I guess they did a good job of making that confusing. I assume that was on purpose. I also had no idea what was happening when he was fighting that Minotaur. How do those random soldiers on the battlefield know who Zeus is just by looking at him? Because he was old and decrepit and looking like Father Christmas. But that's not what the statues of Zeus look like, which are apparently photorealistic. Poseidon's son, whose name I can't remember, he leads a team of soldiers at the end. For some reason, he's not shown any like leadership skills or any real use throughout the entire film, but I guess he was one of the main characters' buddies or whatever, so he gets a job. And I'm not really sure if he's the guy who comes up with this brilliant plan, but they're going up against Kronos, a big scary lava monster. So the soldiers cover themselves in wet mud, which presumably is drying rapidly. Very much like Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Predator film. Don't put it off another day. Make your voices roar. And then there's some little fire monster things that come and attack people. Whatever. Fire monsters. Why is setting the ground on fire going to stop a fire monster? It's not. That's a stupid plan. Also, that guy, Agenor, whatever his name was, he's not in the climax. He's just like, we're going to set up and we're going to be fighting the fire monsters. We're fighting fire with fire. It's not going to happen. But yeah, then he just comes back at the end and is like, whoa, that was an intense battle that we all took part in. Lucky us. Yeah, so there you go. Also, that guy's got a filling. You can see it when he's screaming at one point. And I know he's an actor. He's not really from ancient Greece, but at least CGI it out or something. Christ. As we all know, Greece had a whole bus full of gods. So it's a good thing that Ares knows where Perseus, not Poseidon, Perseus, is talking about when he says we should meet at the Temple of the Gods. Yeah, so he knows exactly which temple to which god that they should meet at. Anyway. When Perseus and Ares are having their old fisticuffs, Perseus headbutts Ares in the chest, which does not seem like a very tactical move to me. That seems like it's going to go wrong for you. The gods, when they die, they turn into dust, and the effect is rubbish every single time. Just like thunder, y'all. Don't put it on. Another day, sing a song now. Perseus's armor definitely changes part of the way through the film. He's got his like ragtag, crappy armor that he has in the fishing village, and then at some point I wasn't really paying attention, obviously from all these notes I made. But at some point his armour changes to a fancier version, and then at the end he's got the crappy old armour again. Perseus' kid, who is there, I guess. He's not really got anything to do in the film. But he says to Poseidon's son, I've read that you're a great disappointment. He doesn't sound anything like that. But where did he read that about this guy who no one really knew who he was? Oh well. And over the two films, they failed to set up even one iota, pun intended, because Io was in the last film, one iota of romantic interest between Perseus and Andromeda, and at the end of this film, they were like, kiss, 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 love. I know they were in the myth, but they're not in this series at all, so don't do it. Anywho, rate out of 5 beers. I would give this 5 beers out of 5. I am not sad that they didn't make another one.